Chapter 1. The gods talk about Odysseus. The Trojan War was already over. After years of conflict and destruction, the Greek warriors had returned to their homeland. Their ships had crossed the seas, and their families had welcomed them home with joy and relief. But one man had not returned, Odysseus, the brave and cunning king of Ithaca. Far from home, his fate remained unknown. In Ithaca, his wife Penelope continued to wait with unwavering hope. Day after day, she kept the memory of her husband alive, surrounded by suitors who wanted to take his place. Her son, Telemachus, was growing up in the shadow of a father he had never truly known. Odysseus, however, was not dead. He was stranded on a remote and enchanted island called Ogygia. The nymph Calypso lived there, a divine being who had fallen in love with the hero. Captivated by him, she refused to let him go. She wanted to keep him on the island as her companion, offering him comfort and even the promise of eternal life. But Odysseus longed for home. His heart remained in Ithaca, with his wife and his son. Each day, he stood by the sea, watching the waves, dreaming of his return. Despite the beauty of the island and Calypso's affection, he was filled with sorrow. He had no ship, no crew, and no way to escape. High above, on Mount Olympus, the gods observed everything. They saw Odysseus's pain and the years of struggle he had endured. Most of them believed he deserved to return home at last. Yet one god was still against him, Poseidon, lord of the seas. He had not forgiven Odysseus for blinding his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus, and had vowed to make his journey home as difficult as possible. One day, while Poseidon was away, the goddess Athena saw an opportunity. Loyal to Odysseus, she decided to act. She went to her father, Zeus, ruler of the gods, to ask for his support. Zeus agreed that Odysseus had suffered long enough. He sent Hermes, the messenger of the gods, to the island of Ogygia. Swift and sure, Hermes crossed the skies and arrived at Calypso's cave with a divine message. The time had come to let Odysseus go. Though saddened, Calypso accepted the command of the gods. She informed Odysseus and began helping him build a raft. She gave him supplies and watched as he prepared to face the sea once again. While Odysseus prepared for his uncertain journey, Athena turned her attention to Ithaca. Disguised in human form, she traveled there with a new mission. She would support Telemachus, guiding him toward courage and action. Telemachus, still young but growing restless, would soon set out to search for his father, hoping to find answers and bring news back to his mother. And so, in different corners of the world, both father and son were about to begin their journeys, both moved by the same desire, to be reunited once again in Ithaca.
Chapter 2. A Mysterious Visit.
Athena, goddess of wisdom and war, had been watching from the heights of Mount Olympus for too long. The time had come to act. With her spear in hand and fire in her eyes, she descended from the divine peaks to the rugged shores of Ithaca. The island, once proud and orderly under the rule of the clever king Odysseus, was now sinking into chaos. She arrived at dusk, the sky painted in deep purples and golds. In the fading light, she stood silently before the palace of Odysseus, his home, now infested by men without honor. But a goddess cannot walk unnoticed among mortals. She whispered ancient words and changed her form. No longer a warrior goddess, she became Mentes, a noble stranger, king of a neighboring island. Inside the palace, laughter echoed like thunder. Dozens of arrogant suitors, wealthy, well-dressed, and shameless, feasted on Odysseus' wine and slaughtered his animals for their banquets. They lounged on couches that weren't theirs, giving orders to servants that did not belong to them. All with one goal, to marry Penelope and steal the throne of Ithaca. And where was her son, the rightful heir? Telemachus sat alone in the shadows, quiet but burning with frustration. He was young, yes, but not blind. He watched these men devour his home, insult his mother, and laugh at the idea that Odysseus might return. In his heart, a storm was building.
If only my father were here, things would be different.
Then, as if fate heard his plea, a stranger appeared at the gate. Telemachus, ever respectful, rose to greet him.
"Welcome, noble traveler," he said. "Come in, please. Eat and rest."
They sat together, away from the noise, and Telemachus leaned in close. His voice dropped to a whisper.
My father Odysseus vanished at sea years ago. No one knows what happened. And now these men, these thieves, are tearing everything apart. My mother is trapped, and I am too young to stop them.
The stranger listened, his eyes calm but intense. He nodded slowly, as if he had known all of this long before. And though Telemachus couldn't possibly know it, the wheels of destiny had just begun to turn. The goddess was no longer watching. She was here. And she had a plan.
Chapter 3. Athena's Counsel. The sun had already set behind the hills of Ithaca when the unknown stranger sat beside Telemachus. No one suspected who he truly was, but in his eyes shone a calm intelligence and an authority that commanded respect. He told Telemachus not to lose hope. Perhaps Odysseus was still alive, perhaps he had perished. No one could say for certain, but Telemachus had to search for the truth. He could no longer remain idle. He advised him to speak to the suitors who occupied his father's palace, to demand that they leave. Then, he was to prepare a ship, gather 20 brave oarsmen, and set sail in search of answers. First, to Pylos, to speak with the wise King Nestor. Then, to Sparta, where King Menelaus ruled, the last to return from the Trojan War. If anyone knew anything of Odysseus, it would be them. In the midst of their conversation, while the two still sat face to face, the stranger leaned slightly toward Telemachus and said, in a firm yet gentle voice,
"Be strong and brave, so that all will respect you."
With those words, he lit a new kind of courage in the young man, quiet, steady, and real. He refused any gifts, gave a discreet farewell, and slipped away without a sound. And when no one was watching, he shed his mortal form. His body shimmered, feathers emerged, and he transformed into a majestic bird that soared into the sky, bound for Olympus. Telemachus did not witness the transformation. But something about that visitor, his words, his presence, the peace he left behind, made him suspect he was no ordinary man. Perhaps, he later thought, it had been a god. Or a goddess. And his journey was only just beginning.
Chapter 4. The quiet boy no more. That night, Telemachus couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what the stranger had told him. The stranger who was actually Athena in disguise. He had to find news about his father. In the morning, Telemachus gathered the men of Ithaca and spoke boldly in the town square. He said,
"I don't know if my father is alive or dead, but you are destroying his house."
He asked them to leave. Antinous, one of the suitors, got angry. He said,
"It's Penelope's fault. She said she would get married when she finished weaving a cloth, but she never finishes it."
Telemachus replied,
"I can't force my mother to marry."
and he warned them that the gods might punish their bad behavior. Suddenly, 2 eagles appeared in the sky. They fought each other and flew off toward the east. An old man declared it was a sign. Odysseus was coming back. But the suitors laughed at the idea. They mocked the old man and said they would kill Odysseus if he ever returned. An elder named Mentor stood up for Telemachus. He said the people of Ithaca should support the young man. The suitors were furious, and in the end, everyone went back to their homes. Telemachus remained alone in the square. The wind stirred the dust around his feet, but he stood firm. For the first time, he felt no fear. The boy was gone. A man had taken his place. Chapter 5. The Call of Blood, Telemachus and the Mystery of His Father. Telemachus was consumed by a single question: where was his father? Life in Ithaca had become unbearable. The suitors were growing bolder, and he felt powerless. He knew that staying would achieve nothing. If he truly wanted answers, he would have to leave. Determined, he made a bold decision. He would depart in secret. Only one person was entrusted with his plan: his loyal nurse, Euryclea. He confided in her late at night, asking for provisions, bread, wine, and whatever food she could quietly gather. He told her he would leave that very night. But he made one final request.
Please,
he said.
say nothing to my mother until at least tomorrow. Let her not worry. Not yet.
With the help of the goddess Athena, who favored him as she had once favored his father, Telemachus managed to slip out of the palace unseen. Under the cover of night and guided by a favorable wind, his ship sailed swiftly across the sea. Soon, he reached the shores of Pylos, a kingdom known for its ancient wisdom and brave warriors. Without delay, he made his way to the grand palace of King Nestor, a noble and wise man who had fought alongside Odysseus in the Trojan War. The king welcomed him warmly, offering food and drink, as was the custom for honored guests. Looking at the young man with curiosity, Nestor asked,
"Who are you? And what brings you to Pylos?"
Telemachus introduced himself.
I am the son of Odysseus from Ithaca. I've come in search of news, any news, of my father. He left for Troy many years ago, and we have heard nothing since.
King Nestor listened with sympathy. He praised Odysseus as a brave and brilliant warrior, one of the finest leaders among the Greeks.
"Yes, I fought beside your father,"
he said.
"He was a man of cunning and courage. But once the war ended, I lost all trace of him. He did not return with us, and I have heard no word since."
Although he could not give him the news he hoped for, Nestor shared stories of other heroes, of their journeys and fates after Troy. And then he gave Telemachus some advice.
"If you truly wish to learn more, you should go to Sparta. There, King Menelaus may know what became of Odysseus. He returned home later than most. He may have heard something on his journey."
Wanting to help, Nestor offered more than just words. He gave Telemachus a chariot and ordered his own son, Pisistratus, to accompany him. Grateful for the kindness and guidance, Telemachus thanked the old king, and with renewed determination, prepared to continue his quest.